lower end of the bridge is very difficult. Everything has to be done from the highway, and there's so much work to be done, and it's such difficult access that we felt it was too much to accomplish in a 55-hour envelope over the weekend, and we elected to break it up into two components to assure that on Monday morning at 5 a.m. all four lanes of the northbound highway will be open to the public. So, starting in the sixth weekend, we'll be flipping over to the southbound side, and the first bridges up will be Salem, eastbound and westbound. Then we'll jump back over to the Mystic Center span, southbound, combined with Valley. And then we'll be doing the subsequent weekend Mystic River backspans, combined with the Webster Street. The ninth weekend, we'll be working on Riverside, southbound. And the last bridge, the 10th weekend, will be finishing up with Route 60. There will be early work items, and you can see us working on the highway already. So this has to be done. Initially, we have to develop the crossovers, and that's what you have seen probably on the highway already. The zipper barrier is fully deployed in the southbound lane on the median shoulder. It's about close to 4.5 miles of barrier that's going to be deployed every weekend. We're also working on the crossovers and removing the existing median barrier so that we can develop these crossovers. And you've probably seen the lights now at the southern crossover and the northern crossover and the wooden poles, which will light up these areas. So these are the areas where the crossover will be developed, where you can see these wooden poles and the lighting. But in addition to the work that you see right now, we'll be also working underneath the bridges, doing our substructure work for the new bearing seats. The new bridges, just too much work to be done over a 55-hour window, as I mentioned earlier, and we have to prepare the heaters of the existing structures to support the new modules that we'll be setting on top. We'll get into that a little bit later as to what the actual construction is all about, but the bridge seats that support the structure will have to be provided in an early action item. I mentioned the zipper lane is being deployed, or being ready for deployment, and we'll be running a trial deployment later on this month. It's scheduled for the 29th of April, presently. And of course, I guess we mentioned the lighting as well. So, moving on, the construction concept, as you can see in this picture, this depiction, this cartoon as I call it, we'll be bringing in these precast modules, which is comprising two steel beams with a precast concrete deck, driving them in on large tractor trailers on the highway, and then we'll employ large cranes to swing them into position. And of course, before any of this can happen, we'll be demolishing the existing structure. We have an animation prepared, which gives you an idea of at least what's going on. This is an animation of Riverside Avenue. I'll try to narrate it as we can walk through here. But this is zooming in on Riverside Ave, which, as I mentioned, is the first structure. So here we go. Then at 6 p.m., we'll be shutting down the local roads and getting ready to deploy the zipper barrier. At 8 p.m., we'll be taking the first lane and the southbound barrel, followed up with the second lane at 9 p.m. and prepare ourselves for contraflow traffic. So all traffic will be deployed into the southbound barrel of the highway, 2 lanes in each direction. What's highlighted in red is the bridge to be demolished, and we'll be mobilizing our equipment up there and starting to demolish the bridge with conventional excavators and demolition equipment, shears and hammers. Demolish the concrete structure, take out the existing steel girders, and this will be happening Friday night into Saturday morning. And as the material is dropped down onto the street, it'll be cleaned up with loaders, put into trucks, carted away. And what will remain is the piers and the pier caps and the abutments. And of course, we'll be bringing our cranes then to deploy or to set the large precast panels. Riverside will be set from not only the lower road, but also on I-93. You can see there's another crane there in the back on the northbound side. The tractor trailers will drive up. We'll offload them with these large cranes and swing them into position on top of the bearings that we've already prepared for them during the preliminary work and and the early work items. And as we establish these precast modules, these tabletops, we need 18 of them on the structure, 6 for the back spans, and 6 on the center spans, and we'll be working on these, as you can see in the timeline, on Saturday into the afternoon. And once we get enough area developed, we'll be forming in the bottoms of these and putting in reinforcing steel to join these modules together into one composite deck. So here we are placing concrete. This will be going on Sunday morning. And during the day on Sunday, the concrete will cure. And this is a special mix that's going to achieve a high strength in a short period of time. And while it cures, we wait, and then we strike the highway, put up temporary barriers, and are ready on Monday morning to open everything up to traffic at 5 a.m. And we'll undo the zipper barrier and the southbound barrier and open that up to 4 lanes traffic as well. And that is a typical 55-hour weekend compressed into 3 minutes. So, we mentioned the crossovers, and this indicates the locations of them. And as I mentioned, they'll be stationary throughout the entire summer. So the southern crossover is down in Somerville, between exits 29 and 30. You can see on the map in the back, there's more, a more detailed view with the aerial photography. You can see it up here as well on the right-hand side of the map that's up in the railing here. And in the north, it's up by Spot Pond. That's where the northern crossover is. A distance of about 4.5 miles between the two. And of course, the work zones, located here in red, that will vary the batting order that we gave earlier as far as the rotation that we're going to be going through this summer to replace all these structures. So, I'd like to turn it over now to Eric Mackey, who will guide you through the traffic management program that we're going to be going through this summer.
Thank you, Peter. As Peter mentioned, and as we showed on the video, the major component of handling the traffic on I-93 is going to be moving traffic through the crossover so that it can be on the opposite side of the highway, so they can travel beyond the work area and then come out the other side. It's about 1.5 miles north of Roosevelt Circle. So that's how we're going to manage the traffic on I-93. We do have a lot of other traffic management techniques that we're going to be using for the project. The first is a real-time traffic management system. It's going to be a series of variable message signboards all around 495, 128 belts on the Mass Pike, giving real-time information to drivers about the amount of travel delay through the work area on I-93. So this will be updated through the use of traffic sensors in the road and also through the use of video detection. So we'll be able to give real information to drivers so they can make their decisions on whether or not it's too busy, they don't want to go through there, and then we'll provide the alternate routes around 495 and 128. The key to the success of this project with managing traffic is to give that information so that we can divert those regional trips away from the work area. So when people are coming back from New Hampshire, they have the opportunity, they'll see the real-time traffic information, and then they can make a decision if they want to head down through Boston or divert around 495. The next rule is the Fellsway. The Fellsway is going to be a permanent detour route sign each weekend. It's parallel to the work area, and we're going to use that as a route to get people around the work zone and then back into the city, because when a bridge is under construction, we can't continue on the highway, but if you wanted to get to the adjacent interchange, you wouldn't be able to. We're going to use the Fellsway to get you back to where you need to go. Only one local lane will be closed each weekend. So, for example, here we show the Salem Street rotary. During that weekend, that's the only roadway that will be closed. All the other roadways underneath the highway will remain open. And also, where feasible, when we can have the work zone and we can still allow traffic to get on and off the highway, either north of the work area or south of the work area, then be able to get back onto the highway after the work period. What this slide depicts is the Fellsway corridor, as I mentioned. This is the permanent detour route that will be signed each weekend. So coming out of Boston, for example, if we were going to be working on a bridge in this area and you were trying to get to an interchange, say Salem Street or Webster Street up in that area, we would have signing and detour routes in place to route you up the Fellsway and then back down into the city so that you can get where you're going. And the same is going to hold true for the southbound direction. When we're working on southbound bridges, we'll have signing in place to get people back onto Route 60, back onto Riverside, get back into the city. We're going to have a host of emergency services laid out each weekend. Most importantly is the intersection traffic management. All the intersections around the city, we're going to have staffed police details to help control traffic, to help move traffic through the city. The state police are going to have an on-site command center, so they can be right at the project area, and they can help control and manage all the traffic details. The project is going to have full coordination with MassDot's Highway Operations Center, the HOC Center. The state police and the command center are going to be communicating with the HOC. The HOC has the ability to change all the messaging on all the overhead VMS boards throughout the state. So in addition to the VMS boards for the real-time traffic monitoring system, the state will also have the ability to add extra messages on their existing overhead VMS sign boards. And all that will be coordinated through the State Police Command Center and the HOC. MassDot has already done a lot of extensive planning with emergency services, including police, fire, EMS. They've had outreach already to ambulance services, making sure people understand what detour routes will be in effect each weekend so that getting to hospitals will not be, ambulance drivers will know which way they have to go, and all that's going to be coordinated through the State Police Command Center. We're also going to have tow trucks on standby on both sides of the highway, so if there is an incident on 93 or on a local road, we can clear that, keep traffic moving. What I'd like to do now is just walk you through a typical weekend of a bridge replacement. This is for the Mystic River and Webster Street Bridge. This picture is over the Mystic River. So what these plans show, and I've got more plans on the back table, in red here, or faint orange, it's tough to see, but the section of the highway that's going to be closed, here's the Mystic River Bridge. Heading northbound is over to the left, and here's the Webster Street Bridge. Because of the proximity of Mystic River, we'll have to close the highway down here at Route 16. Everybody heading northbound with I-93 is going to go through the crossover, shown by these green lines. That's where the regional traffic will bypass the bridge work, continue northbound on the south barrel. Local traffic will be able to continue on the highway, but then will ultimately be forced off on Route 16 because the highway will be closed ahead for the bridge construction. Traffic from Salem Street would not be able to get on the highway at Salem Street because the Webster Street Bridge would be out. So that traffic would be diverted around the Fellsway corridor, as I showed before. So what we've done is we've developed a lot of local detour plans, giving all the signs and detour routes for the contractor to follow. So they're going to lay out signs. For example, here's that northbound on-ramp from Mystic Valley Parkway. Because the Mystic River Bridge will be out, we have to give a detour for the traffic that would normally get on at that interchange. So they would stay on, get off at Route 16, and continue over to the Fellsway, and then head up to Roosevelt Circle and get on the highway at that point. Likewise, if you were on Mystic Avenue, you would be diverted down south, make a U-turn underneath the highway. At that point, you could get back on 93 and get into the crossover and go north, or you could also stay on the Fellsway, continue up the Fellsway, and get on at Roosevelt Circle.
Good evening, everybody. What you see before you is the project website, and if you haven't been there, I encourage you to visit it. This is the current version of it, but an updated one is going to be deployed very soon with lots of resources, including a copy of tonight's presentation and the ability to watch the animation, I believe, in the form of a YouTube video. There's going to be a tremendous amount of resources there. So the outreach for the project is this website and the hearing, but I want to talk a little bit about what's available to you on the website. The schedule of construction is going to be there. Actual maps of the detour routes for each weekend. The information that Eric just presented to you will be available to you in a map you can print out, and that will be useful for folks here in Medford to understand what roads are open and closed. There will be links to traveler planning tools such as what MassDot uses and the MBTA uses, photos of the project, ongoing photography, and videos as well of what's going on. Every week there will be updates on what is happening this coming weekend, what's finished, what's coming the weekend after, and so forth. We also want to encourage everybody, if you have not yet signed up, to receive emails, and if you have a service on your cell phone and would like to, you can also receive text messages for project information. And then you can go to the website and link to the 511 Traveler Information Service, which will enable you to customize the types of alerts that you want to get around the project. The state has done a tremendous amount of outreach already. Eliza was telling me earlier that there have been at least 60 meetings or more of outreach to lots of folks in Medford and the surrounding communities. But while we do want to make sure people know what's going on during the actual project. And we've already talked a little bit about this regional system of these changeable message signs. They will be everywhere, and there will be a tremendous media blitz. I think the important thing to mention is that it will also have not just specific warnings of what's going on this weekend, but how much time it's going to take to get to a particular area before the choice is made. So if you're at a point, say you're coming down from New Hampshire and you're coming down to 495, you'll have some information that if you were planning to go all the way into the city, now you're going to know how much time it's going to take. So you might take 495 all the way around, or you might come down to 128, take that instead. We want to give people plenty of information. The press will get lots of information, local papers, regional papers, and so forth on a weekly basis. And then within the project zone itself, there will be a highway advisory radio on AM 1700. The last thing is that I did mention texting. You'll see the very bottom of this, if you text I-93 space fast 14 to 39024, you will be able to get what's on the cards that you may have picked up. That information is there as well. But there's also 3 ways to provide feedback or ask questions. The comment form that you have in tonight's handout is something that you can submit to the state. If you want it to be included in the official hearing transcript, it needs to be received within 10 days after the public hearing, as Christine mentioned before. You will all be given an opportunity to come up and speak tonight. If you do, we ask that you state your name clearly, because tonight's meeting is being recorded and it is being transcribed as well for the permanent record. So if you do come up to the microphone, please speak clearly and state your name. And if you haven't yet done so, you need to sign in. You can also send questions in to 93fast14info at state.ma.us and the project website that I mentioned. So at this point, we're done with the formal part of the presentation, and if anybody would like to come up and ask questions or offer your feedback, the microphone is available.